We arrived in Rawlins the day before halfway days, so we were free to take care of our chores. I saw this deer wandering town on the way to laundry. We walked a mile to Depot Park for the first day's activity. We stopped at the Hole in the Wall on the way. This was the second time visiting it. In 2001, I dropped by while exploring the country because it was the only hiker bar far out. This is the first year Rawlins is hosting this brand new event. Although Rawlins is close to the halfway point, the real reason the event exists is because of a couple of thru hikers who settled in town and have opened an outfitter shop. They are very active in the community. They convinced the town to rename the annual event. It was originally went by Crazy Days, then Freedom Days, and most recently Adventure Days. So it's no surprise that the first day's event aren't really thru hiker centric. Mostly they were celebrating the nation's 250th birthday. We hikers took over a picnic table in the park, ate from the food trucks, and drank from the riflemen, and of course talked. Although there was some activities in the park, the focus the next days was at the outfitters. There was music, vendors, giveaways, and the riflemen had a beer stand. Nate and I ate at the hiker famous Thai restaurant nearby. I had to leave early because a screw fell out of my glasses. A $25 cab ride to Walmart for a $2 repair kit, and I was back in the hotel with fully functional glasses again. The next day was to plan to walk by the outfitters to check out the last day of the event on our way out of town, but a local offered us a ride to the trailhead. This section was 120 miles through the Great Divide Basin. We'd be in the desert for 5 days at or near 100 degrees each day. Like much of New Mexico, the reason hikers can get through it is because of the kindness of trail angels who stock water caches. The scrub brush was very short. There was no place for the pronghorn to hide from my camera. Sometimes the trail passes right under barbed wire. We paralleled the 287 for 10 miles before coming to the first water source, a solar well at a spring. I had to walk on the 287 briefly before heading deeper into the desert. The afternoon was a slog through the heat along an old dirt road for the first water cache. We tried to rest in the shadow of the box, but it was uncomfortable. The slog continued straight through the desert. This day was the eve of my retirement. On this momentous day, my mind wandered and landed on the movie Forrest Gump, specifically where Lieutenant Dan told Forrest, "We don't have to worry about money no more," because Lieutenant Dan had invested in some kind of fruit company. Forrest's reply was, "That's good, one less thing." Ideally, when you retire, money is all figured out. On a dark note, if a simpleton was blabbering on about his life on a bench talking about having billions of dollars, surely someone would have stolen his identity. Forrest Gump dies in a ditch, penniless. After 7 miles, we came to a little oasis with a solar well in the middle. We got water and set up our tents. We checked off 30 miles, although some of it was asphalted trail that was done in a trail angel's truck. We were back to hiking across the desert at 5:30. Retirement day was exciting. It was my last day of work, which coincided with my last day of vacation. I was planning on celebrating in the middle of the day where we'd be able to swim in a reservoir. But first we had to get there. A water cache 8 miles into the day was a gathering place for hikers. 6 miles further was the main event for the day. I couldn't really take video while I was swimming. After I cooled off, I blew up my mattress to find a hole. Since I effectively had a flotation device, I drifted around the reservoir for a while. I had hiked out a Moscow mule in a can to heighten the celebration. When Nate got there, we split it. After my mat dried, I patched it. Way too soon, everyone was gone, but Nate and I. We had many more miles to go, so off we went. After putting the reservoir to our backs, carefreely drifting in the water became a distant memory. The next water source was fed by an electric well. We encountered the first deep sand on the trail. It was hard walking, like walking on the beach. Sometimes a cow path paralleled the sandy path. Not even cows like walking in that stuff. I saw so many horny toads. A new kind of gate. We camped right off of Cook Gap Road, which had water nearby. We'd hiked nearly 28 miles. Fortunately, there wasn't much traffic to keep us up. The next day, my first day of retirement, was tough. We missed a turn and walked a mile downhill. Then I had to turn around to get back on the CDT. From then on, I was so disheartened. The trail seemed to be crazy rocky or crazy sandy. I just didn't have it in me that day. We had to get some water from a classic New Mexico style tank. Wild horses were hanging out at the tank though. At this point I was used to mosquitoes biting me through my shirt, but I wasn't expecting biting flies to get through too. We walked to and over the horizon, over and over again. Around 7, I made it to the last water cache. Nate was kind to hang out there and wait for me. I was over an hour behind, so Nate was able to take a nap. We hiked a couple more miles together before setting up camp. My first day of retirement, we checked off a hard-fought 26 miles. The next morning, we found ourselves on or crossing the Oregon and California Trail a lot. Nate pointed out that it made sense the trails to come through here because there was a gap in the normally mountainous Continental Divide. It was another hot day, topping out around 100 degrees. At this cattle guard, we made some shade, me with my rain jacket and Nate with his tent. Good thing I drink electrolytes. Check out those salt stains. An afternoon rainstorm gave us some relief from the heat. I was looking forward to this bridge over a river. I was picturing an idyllic swimming spot. It was too shallow to swim though. Also, it didn't help that the mosquitoes were bad despite the wind and the rain. Nate led the way from the bridge to our eventual camping spot after a 27-mile day. When I arrived, he had just finished putting up his tent. As I was driving my first stake in, an incredible wind started blowing. I was surprised to get it up in one try. Most of the night, my tent was blown flat against my body. In the dark, I saw lightning light up the sky through my tent netting. Fortunately, the morning was calm. The plan was to walk near Atlantic City to get to the road for a hitch to Lander. On the outskirts of Atlantic City, which appeared to be an old mining town, I spotted this moose. A moose in the desert. Wyoming is weird. While dirt road walking, a whole slew of buses passed us. Then an SUV stopped to see what we were doing. The couple told us we were crazy, but offered us a ride to Lander. On the way, we found out the couple was with those buses. They were picking up kids from their congregation. The kids were simulating walking the Mormon Trail like their ancestors. They had just finished a 3-day section of the trail, walking 15 miles a day, dragging carts through the deadliest portion of the Mormon Trail. And we were the crazy ones. We got to Lander early. We visited McDonald's, the outfitters, the post office, all before we could check into the Frontier Lodge, where we met Terry, who ran the place for her boss. She was quite the character. I did our laundry before relaxing, so all our chores were done the first day. Snake count, 3. On the first day in the basin, this one startled us with its rattle after we'd already passed it. That's right. After 1,600 miles, I saw my first rattler on the CDT. Trail stop checklist. Lander, check.